I just want to give a little Pandion introduction, tell you about what we do here, and for anyone new, it looks like we do have a couple newbies, so welcome. Um, we are Pandion Music Foundation. I'm Jordan Stobie, I'm the ED, and Anai Cruz Batista is here as well, who's the programs associate for Pandion. And we've been running these workshops and our program since 2022, and we host these workshops weekly on Wednesdays with different people from the music industry, all over the music industry, hosting to help break down the barriers between industry professionals and emerging artists and create more of a space for networking and education, all for free. So we are just really trying to build this platform for people all virtually, so anyone can join from anywhere in the world. It looks like we've got people outside of the US today. So welcome everybody from your respective areas. And we also have wellness resources. We have had a little shift in our wellness programming lately. So we were running live streams on Tuesdays. And we are now taking a pause on those wellness live streams and are going to be working on launching a podcast soon, a wellness podcast for musicians. And in the meantime, we have a little hub we're starting on our website if you need any wellness resources. There's a lot of really cool organizations in the scene doing amazing things to help expand wellness resources and tools for musicians. So we're trying to create kind of a hub for all of those so people can learn about them and access those resources if they need them. So you can check that out on our website. It's not launched yet, but it should be up next week. So that's there for you all as well. And we also have an exciting thing coming up in June, which I won't announce yet, but that's going to be an in-person event in LA. So anyways, that was a long one, sorry. Sami Posner. Posner, is that how you pronounce your last name?
That's correct.
Great,
Nailed
okay.
it.
Awesome. She is here from Blue Lily Music today, music supervisor, and we are very excited to have a little chat and talk about music supervision, how she got started in the industry, and what tips and tools she can give to us who are music creators trying to get our music in the eyes of supervisors and find sync placements. And I'll just give your little blurb a little more information about your background, and then you can fill anything in, Sami, that you want to. But Sami is a GMS Award nominated music supervisor and founder of Blue Lily Music, which is a full service music supervision, consultation, and management company founded on the principle of elevating content into art in all music media spaces. She has supervised projects for Netflix, Paramount, Nickelodeon, Tyler Perry Studios, Lifetime, Hallmark, as well as consulted on major video games titled for Electronic Arts. So lots of things going on. And do you want to tell us a little bit more? Maybe start with how your career led you to founding the agency that you run, or supervision services and all that.
Absolutely. Thank you for the
Great.
intro. Thanks for having me. Oh, just a little bit of housekeeping. Jordan, are you admitting people coming in or do you want me to be
I
doing that?
am. I'll do all of the, and I can handle the back end, so you don't have to worry about anything.
Okay, great, great.
Yeah.
Hi everyone. I'm so glad to have such a nice, robust group together online. It's wonderful to see such a great turnout. And it's nice to see so many familiar faces, and I'll circle back to why that is shortly. But to dive in a little bit about me, I'm born and raised in LA. I grew up in and around a lot of music. I was actively pursuing artistry as a songwriter and performer, and I played in bands for a long time. And I had a devastating band breakup that kind of crushed my heart in a million pieces. And I decided I never want this experience to happen again. I want to learn the ins and outs of the business so I can protect myself as an artist to make sure that I know what I'm doing. I know where all my rights are. I know how to handle things and book myself. And I stayed on the business side. That said, I make music for myself. I speak music. It's really helpful in my job because I have a direct language. I can speak to composers and artists. And then I have the business side, which allows me to advocate for artists and composers making all kinds of negotiations and deals and making sure that we get done what we need to get done in the film, TV space and beyond. I worked for many years with Joel High at Creative Control as a music supervisor. And I helped expand that company into the gaming space and the podcast space. Podcasts are still a little bit like the wild, wild west in the supervision scene, even though it is one of the oldest forms of media. Radio show, variety show on the radio is kind of way before TV. And yet it's still new media technically when it comes down to the rights of it all, but that's a different story for another day. Um, After many years working at Creative Control, it was just naturally time to fly the nest and start my own thing. And Blue Lily Music kind of came out of a very music centric focus that I've always had as a music supervisor, which is a really hands-on approach with the music side of things. Um, Music supervision as a whole is a pretty large umbrella term that uh, encompasses a lot of different skill sets, everything from creating alternative options, so creating, having, giving lots of options in source music, hiring the composer. I need to not read your comments while I'm talking to you. It's very distracting. I'm gonna exit out of them and read them later. Um, um, Music supervision encompasses a lot of different skill sets: music clearance, music licensing, having the capacity to work directly with artists and musicians to create new work for a media. It encompasses working to create and close soundtrack deals after a project is created. And the scope of the work, depending on the project, really, really depends. And that means you're working with a variety of experienced people. So, anywhere from a new up and coming artist to someone who's very established with a larger team, and you adjust the work and communication accordingly. I've worked across a lot of different kinds of media and with a variety of experienced people, from having never written a song before to Burt Bacharach. So there's a that's the spectrum. It's vast. And something that I've always advocated for strongly, and I think this is one of the pillars of being a music supervisor, is education in and around being an artist, because I think that being an artist is a wonderful and beautiful thing. And I also think that being an educated, smart artist is a much more lucrative thing. So we're all here because we love music, but we want to work in it. And the work means we have to make a living out of it. So how do you do that as an artist? Smartest. Wow, I'm stealing that. That's fantastic. I said I wasn't going to read your comments, but they're coming in. Smartest is fantastic. I'm totally stealing that. So all that to say, my company was founded as a music supervision company, and I consult with a couple other companies on all things music. But film composer management kind of came just naturally to me because of the way that I work with composers. So I have a roster of a few composers that I help guide their overall careers and their goals, and they're all very multifaceted artists. Some of them are songwriters as well as composers. And that has been a wonderful addition to the supervision work that I do. I think this is the age of the multi-hyphenate. And I think you really can do it all. And as an artist, especially an artist who's focused on sync, you really have to be able to do it all in order to create a long-standing career in the industry. So that's a little bit about Blue Lily Music. What else, Jordan?
Thank you for that. You've done so much in your career, and it's so great to hear that you are. I think the multi-hyphenate thing is a very interesting. It's like, I think just in the past, like it's really kind of a newer thing that artists and people in the industry kind of have to have their hands in a lot of different areas to
It's
be
yeah.
successful nowadays. So,
And it's so hard, especially as an artist. I totally tip my hat to you. I mean, purely on the production side, artists never had to be their own producers and marketing people and
oh my
a
gosh, yeah.
and the list goes on and on and on. It's like the conversation really starts at music, but that is really the start. As an indie artist, you have to be able to get that music out of your living room with your friends and family who think you're the cat's pajamas because you are, but you need other people to hear it too. So,
Yeah. Yeah,
you
and I
know,
think it used to be like just go out and play as many shows as you can, never say no to a
mhm,
show, get out there, which is still kind of a thing. I mean, obviously, if you're trying to be a performing artist, that's a big deal, but it's more than just like you're not just gonna necessarily be picked up by someone and kind of held your hand through the industry anymore. It's like, you're not gonna have all that stuff done for you. You have to learn how to do it yourself first, and then hopefully at some point you get that team around you. But it's definitely a process. And in the beginning, especially like learning as much as possible is so helpful. And that's like one of the biggest things and reasons why we started doing this with Pandion is because, as an artist, you have so many things you need to be juggling, and most of those things cost a lot of money. And
right.
it's really just like you have to love it so much because so much of this is coming out of your pocket and you're just like trying to make things work, as a musician. And so we wanted to try to create something that is not a financial burden, but still allows for that education to happen and hopefully give more tools for that growth in artist careers that is needed, to just like build that toolbox of things you can use to help grow a career. And before I forget, I forgot to mention earlier that we are going to be doing our disco submission today. So I always forget to say this right at the beginning. But if you stay till the end, I'll share a submission link for disco and you can share one fully mixed and mastered song with metadata included, and we'll share that with Sami, and that will also be public on our disco library for other supervisors and agents to discover if they use the platform. Um, and yeah, that maybe is a good segue to how you find music and your strategy for music discovery. And maybe if you could give any tips for artists of how they can get their music out there in the eyes of supervisors and the best ways to do that.
Absolutely. I'm going to answer all of those segments, but I'm going to start with tips because it's the most natural segue after you said metadata. Um,
Yes,
does
great.
anyone not know what metadata is? Do not this is an educational safe space. You can just raise your hand. Are we all, I'm looking on the second page too. We all know what metadata is? For real, for
I
real?
think
Okay.
maybe we'll need a little, because there are
All
some,
right.
we've had experiences where people are a little unsure. Maybe someone tuning in later will be unsure. So yeah, might be good to
Okay.
just give a little breakdown.
Okay, so just to help you put your best foot forward, because maybe you think you know what metadata is, and then I see it and go, oh my God, and don't listen to the song because the paperwork's a mess. So metadata is um, well, first of all, it's information about your song that's embedded into the song on the platform. Or you can include a PDF on Disco to include with your song that has your split sheet. A split sheet tells me everything I need to know, all the contacts and all the pieces of the puzzle. And the pieces of the puzzle are the master and the publishing. And those are the two sides of a song that I need to clear in order to have permission to use it in any kind of media, depending on what it is. So your metadata is how you break down your song. It's also your keywords about the song. Maybe it includes the BPM. Maybe it includes some emotional buzzwords about your song. Let's say you have a really wonderful trailer song. It's orchestral, it's suspenseful, it is haunting, it is let's see, it's Those are pretty good. I'm blanking. You know, there's other words. I always suggest to artists too, you are sometimes a good judge of your own adjectives for metadata, but also you should ask other people to listen to your song and say, what are the three emotions or three buzzwords you think of when you hear this? And do that with 5 people. See what crossover you get. If you get zero crossover, I suggest going back to the song and maybe making some tweaks, because if 5 people can't identify kind of where it fits or how to describe it, it might mean that it's a little convoluted. Maybe it doesn't have such a distinct sound. And in order for someone to listen to it and say, wow, that would be great in this trailer, that would be great in this transitional scene in an episodic drama that someone's working on. If you can't picture it and you can't call it out, then it it might need a little tweaking. Maybe it's really esoteric and it's more of a performance art piece and no one knows, where to classify it. I leave that to you to judge. But generally speaking, in the world of sync, you want to be able to identify with some key buzzwords where you would classify this, how you would describe it. The trick of classifying something as every genre and every BPM so that it auto-populates in libraries is very bad. It is very bad. The amount of times I've gotten an EDM track when I'm looking for a country music song is wild. So make sure that you are really honestly classifying your music. And be realistic. Your music is not, this one particular song is not going to work for every single spot. But the beauty of sync is that there's a spot for almost every song. I really believe it. There's infinity media. There's so much media constantly being made. There's infinity artists and infinity songs. Blink, 10 songs were just released. Blink, another 100. This is the world we're in. So, have some hope and be honest about where you would classify your song. That was my long spiel about metadata.
That's great. It's needed. I was actually just going to drop in the chat a link to an article that Disco has available. It explains, so if you use the Disco platform, it's specifically about how to add metadata to your files in Disco, but it's very helpful to just know also what to put into your metadata. So yeah, Disco has some great resources if you're still a bit unsure, and it is embedded in your file. So it's not just like adding that to a comment or something. This is like actually going to be saved in the file of music. So that's very helpful for searches like Sami was saying. But yeah, can you go over split sheet
Yeah,
basics
I
just one
just
more
saw
time?
that.
Yeah,
I'm happy to do
cool.
that. So a split sheet is it's essentially what it sounds like. The splits of a song mean you want to think of a song as a piece of pie. And let's break the pie in half. Half the pie is the master recording, that's the actual recording, and half the pie is the publishing. Each separate half is whole in and of itself. So each separate half is 100%. Let's talk about publishing. So the publishing and the writers are who contributed to the song, who wrote the song. Let's do easy math right now for all of us. We're in different time zones. We'll keep it simple. And we're being recorded, so we want to do easy math. So there are 4 writers on a song. Each of those writers owns 25% as a writer. To keep it even easier, we'll say that each of those writers also reps their own publishing. They're all indie artists. They have their publishing entity all through ASCAP. So they're all ASCAP writers with ASCAP publishing entities. Your split sheet is going to have the IPI numbers and names and PROs, performing rights organizations, either ASCAP or BMI. We're going with ASCAP. It's going to have all that information listed out really succinctly. Something as simple as like, a Google Doc, song title, writer, name, and IPI. Sorry, someone just knocked on my door, but I'm gonna ignore it. The writer, the IPI, a contact info would be great. And we'll make it a little more complicated. Let's say one of the writers has the capacity to clear this song or approve the clearance as a one stop. That means one of the writers has the ability to give approval on behalf of all four of the writers. When you are co-writing and collaborating with other writers, you want this because you don't want a me to have to go get the approval for use of an indie song that's going to be low budget and supposedly really easy to clear. You don't want me to have to send 16 emails. Likely, I will have to do that elsewhere anyway. That is part of my job, but you don't want to be the reason why I have to do that. You want to be the easy person that allows me to go to one person to get approval on all four parties. You can collect the cash and you can divvy it up to all four writers evenly. I don't have to know how that works. So that is that's a split sheet, and all of the writer's information is vital for me because when I do a cue sheet, which is essentially every musical cue, score or source or on camera song that's being hummed in a car. It's every musical cue in a media. And so I need the writer's info and the publishing info because that's how you get paid on the back end through your PRO. Did that clarify split
Great.
sheets for you? It doesn't have to be complicated. There's no template, one size fits all. This is a split sheet. Everyone uses it this way. It's a generic term that encompasses certain information that is pretty universal.
Cool. I'm sure you could find some kind of like layout online if you want to use, you could just, or template of some kind if you're looking for something to kind of
Yeah,
keep
you
on hand.
you could even just a Google Doc is fine with the
Yeah.
song title, your contact info. If you are able to clear the song one stop, you could say one stop clearance through, you know,
Mm-hmm.
whoever the contact is. Um,
Cool.
yeah,
Oh, Michelle has a split sheet template that would be great if you would share that, Michelle. I'm sure people would love to use that. I can share it with, if you want to send it to me, I could share it with the community on our creators circle. Um, yeah, that'd be great. Um, cool. Yeah, this is all such great information to know, and kind of just making sure you're prepared on the back end for things is really important so that you make everyone's lives easier, including
yeah,
your own.
yes, 100.
Um,
And you
yeah.
asked how I discover music.
Hmm.
Um, oh, Michelle's being chased by a bee. Okay, whenever
Oh
you
no.
can, whenever
Yeah,
you
no
can.
rush.
um, I discover new music all the time. It is one of the perks of my job. I also think people who work in music stay younger than every other industry because we have to be current and on trends, on media, and we can always kind of be a part of the conversation because what do people do when they recreate? They talk about what they're watching and what they're listening to. And if you're only listening to the bands that you grew up with or were raised with, you're not part of the conversation. So I think music people are super cool because, we're relevant. We're part of the ongoing, ever-changing culture. I discover new music in so many ways. I love Spotify as a means to discover music. We could talk about, needing to pay songwriters more. All these things can be true at the same time. Their algorithm is amazing. Everyone knows it. Their discovery algorithm is fantastic. I've found a lot of indie artists that I love. And I also, admit to having, there's my musical taste, what I like to listen to, and then I know that I serve the vision of a project creatively. So I don't claim to be such an audiophile where if I were working on a period piece that took place in 1974 Greece, that I would off the top of my head know what albums to be pulling. That's part of the fun of my job, is having to go do a deep dive into a time and a place especially if we want to use authentic music. And even if we don't want to use music that's authentic to the time, I still have to study it so that I can craft a realistic brief that gives enough description to go out to people like yourselves to say, hey, would you like to create a custom track in this style for this media? So there's the record barrel diving, the record crate diving that is just fun and a part of how I like to live my life and recreate. And there is also all of my relationships with publishers and labels, and they're constantly sending me new releases, which is a total perk of my job. I get to hear stuff before it's out to the public. That's another way I discover music. I discover music through doing things like this. I get disco playlists and I really vibe with an artist and I follow them, and I show up like you do, and that's how I discover new music. Um, but I actively seek out new music. I go to a lot of shows. I like to go to a lot of indie shows. I like to support up and coming artists. I would rather put money directly in your pocket, even though sometimes I can't do that. I have to, clear fly me to the moon or whatever. But I love it. If I didn't like it, I really couldn't do what I do because it's a lot of work. But discovering new music is just part of how I like to recreate. Um, I hope that's not too generic an answer or too cliche. It's who I am.
I think that's what a lot of us would probably say. I like that answer. I think also I haven't really heard anyone say that about like keeping like musicians being more um kind of savvy with the times because of
Yeah.
which I is totally true, just being more. And I love that about your job that you're kind of like a detective all the time, like
Oh my
doing
gosh.
research, and it just seems like a really
Major.
fun thing to be and like inspiring you to do more research into different genres and types of music that you might not otherwise is very cool too. Yeah.
There's that facet, but there's also tracking people down on really, really obscure albums. And that is like the secret PI work of being a music supervisor. You guys have no idea the obscure situations that we get ourselves into in order to locate a rights holder. I was clearing a song or trying to clear a song for a series, and I could not find this like 10% rights holder. Everything else was cleared. And it turned out that the rights holder had passed away and the rights were transferred to their attorney. And sorry, it's a little bit of a sad story. The attorney had passed away as well, unexpectedly, and the rights were just kind of like up in the air. No one really knew who had them. There was no notable family. It was an independent attorney. It wasn't a firm, so the projects weren't being transferred to someone else. The clients weren't being transferred to someone else. So we couldn't clear the song. We had to go with another song. And it there's just, you figure out, you trace the rights, you follow the rights. Um,
Wow.
I've had to clear really obscure arrangements of gospel music before where I've had to call uh I've started out by calling a church that, after doing a lot of research. Okay, it seems like this arrangement is really only performed at this church. So I call the church, I speak to the choir director. Oh, it's the choir director's nephew's godmother's cousin's wife that did the arrangement, but they moved and they left music and they're in accounting
Oh
and
my
they
God.
don't know. And I swear, I mean, there is just this endless labyrinthine world of trying to clear music. And so that's why, as indie artists, it is imperative that you make the process as smooth and easy as possible because there is all this other garbage happening in the background, and you are given an opportunity to have your indie song placed without having to go through a team of you know, 10 people back and forth 5 million times in order to get something accomplished. You go, oh yeah, here, it's a one stop. Oh yeah, all the writers are here, all the metadata is here. Oh yeah, and I also have this song because I noticed you need something for this spot. And boom, you got yourself a double placement. It's 2 for 1. So you know, that is why I really stress knowing the business of your music as well as the music. And the music has to be good. That's where it starts.
Yes,
Small
those are the
detail.
roots of the tree. Um, cool. We've got a couple questions over here maybe we can get to. Also, feel free to raise your virtual hand, or
I'm
you can just stick your hand up if you want to come on
yeah,
screen.
I'm answering or I'm looking at some questions. Let's see, do I ever go on the road to different cities to see new bands? For sure. I mean, as I said, seeing bands is one of the ways I recreate. So if I'm traveling for work or for you know, business or pleasure, I'm seeing bands, and I like to get in on the local scene and see, you know, what's cooking and what people are doing. Absolutely.
Do you ever find music that way? Like
Yeah.
actually, yeah, cool. That's good to know.
Yeah.
That still
Um,
happens.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Um, I was talking to a really well-known producer who's worked with everyone. He works with Ariana Grande. He's worked with Mariah Carey. He's like massive producer, amazing guy. Um, and his studio was in Hollywood, and he would go and pick musicians up off the street, someone busking, and be like, hey, you're an incredible guitarist. I'm recording a track. Like, do you want to record on it? So that still happens. It's rarer, it's more rare.
Mm.
Um, but it still happens. Let's see, if every writer is shopping it, can we say on the split sheet one stop through all writers? Um, I think that the inner workings of your deal with the other writers should exist in and among the other writers. I think it should be one person. And if you're all able to clear it one stop, great. But for my edification, I need to know the sole contact I need to be reaching out to. So if you're like, you can reach out to any of us, but so and so's on vacation and someone else is faster to respond in emails, like that's on you. Figure that out and give me the one contact that's easy. But yes, technically you can do that. If you have songs that were written a few years ago, but sound is current, is that okay? Absolutely. Oh my God, 1,000,000%. If you wrote it, it's in your catalog, you know where the rights lie. Sure. Do I have any exciting projects that I'm working on? No. Yeah, I do. I am working on, I don't know if this one's worth sharing because I'm not necessarily looking for anything else right now, but I'll share just because it was kind of a challenging project and it's interesting for you guys to hear about that. It was a short film I worked on with a first time writing and producing team who are friends of mine, and so I jumped on board to help them out, and it's really, really good. It was a project that surprised me, and it's a period piece. It takes place in 1953, and it's a holiday film. And the way that they shot it and the way that the color was treated is so gorgeous. It looks like a Technicolor old movie. And initially, our conversations about music were a little pie in the sky, and they gave me anxiety because we did not have the budget to clear, or you know, we didn't have any budget to be looking out for me to be going and clearing a million obscure Christmas songs. It's like all the time and research, and it wasn't budgeted time wise or financially. And so what we did was we used a couple library pieces. I also worked with a composer to compose a new piece for it in the style of like a Jackie Gleason sounding, like old fashioned, like very lush string sound. And what this composer created in the box, meaning digitally and not with live string players, was so amazing and beautiful. That was, you know, that's movie magic. So that was really fun. Another project I'm working on right now is a big cleanup project. These filmmakers were also first-time filmmakers who shot a heavy music movie without hiring a music supervisor until after it was shot. So if you're a filmmaker, bring on a music soup, find the budget, figure it out. But because it's a lot easier to do it upfront than it is to have someone come in and kind of clean things up after. But I will be needing a lot of replacements for that film. I can't speak much more about it now. But if you keep up with me on Blue Lily Music _ on Instagram, we can get in touch and talk more about that. Yeah, that's what I
Cool.
can that's what I can share there. I have composers that are working on really cool projects right now, and being part of their artistic journey, start to finish, has been pretty inspiring on individual projects, and collectively being able to help guide their choices creatively and on the business side.
That
What
must be so cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a job I take really seriously, because people have dreams and they put their trust in you to help make those dreams happen. So, what genre of music do you need for that? Can you say that much? I'm unsure at this point, and that is because I've not had enough interface with the director to have a clear enough idea. This is a new project that I just took on, so I'll know more. Um, do I represent composers as an agent? What is the criteria for taking on a new composer? I am not an agent because I'm not licensed as an agent. I'm a film composer manager, and I take composers on a referral basis. So that there is that I do offer music consultations for everyone. Um, and you can read more about those on my website. And I also have started a new workshop series that some of you were in, which was great. Chris was there, his daughter was there too. She's now a sync artist. Um, see, she's like rhythmically shaking her bottle. And that series is called Plugged In. I partnered with Kristen Engineer of Moto Girl Music, who is a really wonderful music executive and producer, and top liner and songwriter. And so our workshops are geared towards indie artists and composers. And we had our first workshop a couple weeks ago, and it went incredibly well. And we'll be doing more of those as well, talking about everything from what it's like to be a multi-hyphenate in the space, to what it's like working with a music editor, to all kinds of things that are relevant to indie artists and composers.
Cool. We
Let's
can
see.
share a link to that too, on our creators circle. So if anyone's
Oh,
interested in checking that
wonderful.
out, would love to do that.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
Cool. Yeah, we don't have a website for it. We post our flyers, and that information comes through Instagram.
cool.
Um, but if you want to get on the email list for that, let me know. You can send me a message on the Blue Lily Instagram, and just let me know, and send me your email, and I'll put you on the email list. Um,
Awesome.
if I'm the artist, songwriter, and publisher, do I need to clarify? So many questions that went away. If I'm the artist, songwriter, and publisher, do I need to clarify that I own the master as well, or is that assumed? There's no harm in clarifying that. If you say, I own the song 100%, I assume that you mean publishing and master. This is just a little tip of the trick of the trade. It's a tip that makes you sound like you know what you're doing, even though a lot of us are pretending at some level all the time in this industry. But if you say I own 200% of my song, you sound like a dummy. It's 100%. That's just how proportions work. It's 100% of the master and 100% of the publishing. You don't add them together and get 200%. Um, let's see. So yes, absolutely share that you own the master as well. Do I work on trailers? Do I work in actors' trailers? No, but I did shoot a film last year in Toronto, and when I got to set, which was a little hard to find, I went to the first AD's trailer, and in it was not the first AD, but was a really adorable King Cavalier Charles Spaniel puppy. And for that day, I wish I worked in the actor's trailer because that was a fun surprise. I don't work in trailers, to answer the question straightforward. I do not work in trailers yet. I'm not opposed to working in trailers. It's just not the space I've had as much experience in at this point. So I should add that I pay for the production. Yeah, that's fine. If you own the master and that's your agreement, if you pay people to make it and your agreement is you are the owner, then you're the owner of it. I was looking into a music theater project in the 20s without any upfront pay. Seemed hard to find music online, actual music from YouTube. Would I have any info? How to find music scores for 1920s music? Huh, good question. It depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for, well, 20s is kind of before Great American Songbook, because a lot of the old musical theater songs are jazz standards as well, and you can find lots of lead sheets online. Um, I would search uh I would search Harry Fox. Harry Fox Agency is a good resource to start with. Um, I would also call a library, which is a place that you can go to in person and talk to another person, and ask them if they have music. There are a lot of libraries that have old scores that you can get access to. So I would go to a location called a library. Um,
Cool. That's a good something people might not think about, but a good
yeah,
resource.
yeah,
Yeah.
old schools. If you get stuck there, if a public library is not a great place, you can often call the music department of a university, and they often will be able to help you out as well. Yeah, Library of Congress, but you can make a nice relationship with a music department and go see what they have to offer. Colleges and universities are a great resource. Their libraries often have tons of stuff. Um,
Right.
let's see. Do I ever send briefs to my contact list when I'm hunting for a specific song? Yeah, all the time. I don't do I don't shoot out an email to my contact list because that would be great. There's just too many different kinds of people on there. But yes, I do send out briefs to folks like yourselves as well as labels and publishers and sync reps and the like.
Cool. Jen was asking about our creator circle, so I'll just do a little plug there real quick. If you all want to join our creator circle, it's a private Facebook group. I just put a link in there for you. But we do announcements through there and post about our weekly workshops and anything else that we're running. And it's also a place for you all to collaborate and network if you'd like to chat with other people in the private group. Regarding our disco playlist, which I'll share again in a few minutes. The link for submission that is available on our disco library. So I'll find the link for that, our public disco library, where you can see all of our playlists that we post there. And then other people who use the disco platform can also, there's a discovery feature there now, so you can like search for things and find playlists and songs. So it's all the songs are available on there. I'll find the link.
I got a question that says, are you able to offer any tips on how to become a music supervisor and how you get music supervisor gigs? Yes, I can tell you some tips. How to become a music supervisor. Honestly, work for free for a little bit. Work for free until you don't have to anymore. It's a really hard gig to get your foot in the door as a music soup. It takes a while, it takes persistence, and we all have bills to pay. So it means stretching yourself really thin to be able to say yes to the opportunities that are eventually going to lead to the paid opportunities while working a gig that actually keeps a roof over your head. So it is not for the faint of heart. It is kind of an apprenticeship style gig where a traditional trajectory is you work as an intern for someone, and then your internship goes well, you become a music assistant. Okay, then you go to another company, you have music assistant experience, you start working as a music coordinator, and there's really no one size fits all for like when you graduate into being a music supervisor. There are a lot of people who work as a coordinator for many, many years. There's nothing wrong with that. It can be a steady gig, depending on, who you're working for and what the situation is, and how big the operation is. And there are people who do that and start music supervising on the side. One great way to music supervise or get some experience doing it is offer to music supervise student films. Um, People don't do that, and it's kind of an untapped area. And you don't necessarily have to be clearing things if it's for an educational, only being used in the college, but you can start getting some credits under your belt and start creating relationships with up and coming directors and producers. As songwriters and artists, your pool of people that you want to be mingling with are music supervisors. You want to be meeting us so that we can place your music. But we have nothing to place your music in if we are not mingling with directors and producers. So, and you guys. So there's like a big social component to being a music supervisor. And that is all fun and great, but it's also still work. Like the amount of socialization you have to do on top of all the paperwork, on top of all the Zooms and calls outside to be continuing to foster and sustain those relationships is extensive. So, I haven't cracked that yet. I go out every night of the week for 2 months and then crash and burn for 2 weeks. That's kind of my cycle, to give you a little personal insight. But it works. It's how you get gigs. So I think I'm also very fortunate. I'm born and raised in LA, and I live in Los Angeles, and I go to New York a few times a year. But for those of you that aren't located in a major media hub, I think the Guild of Music Supervisors is a great place to socialize and network, especially as artists, but also as an aspiring music supervisor. It's a great way for you to make connections with supervisors. Those are the people that are going to hire you and give you your first opportunity. And coming back to one of the first things I said about the positivity of seeing familiar faces in this room, that's how you get the gigs. You show up, and you show up enough times where I know you, I know your face, I know your name. You've come to one of my workshops, or you've sent me a message and it's like a normal person message, not like a hi, where do you live? Like, can I send you a pie I made? Like, you don't want to give off that energy. That like freaks people out. But you're just, friendly, interacting, creating an organic connection. And being, sorry, my dog has thoughts on this. It freaks her out too. Don't give her apple pie. So it's showing up repeatedly, it's making those organic connections, and eventually, trite and cliche as it sounds, eventually you will be a recognized person within the community, and there's payoff there, literal and metaphorical. So that's my advice on how to be a music supervisor, how to get music supervisor gigs. don't have a giant strike that slows the entire industry down. I mean, I don't know. That's kind of a big one that I am just one person. I don't have control over that whole situation, but it's rough being an independent soup. It's totally gig to gig. I'm not gonna lie. You have to have a lot of irons in the fire. Um, and you have to really want it. You have to not be able to do anything else. If you can do something else, do that and supervise on the side. It's a hard gig,
That's a good piece of advice. Yeah.
but it's really creatively fulfilling and I love it. So, I don't want to discourage anyone, but it's not creating sexy playlists and going to Hollywood Hills parties. It's doing a lot of paperwork and working your tail off until you get the big gig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, it's good to be realistic about it and know, I mean, it's great to be talking to people who live and breathe it every day and kind of
Right.
hear more of that behind the scenes to know because yeah, when you're entering a new career, I think that's very something I think not a lot of people necessarily do is like speak to people who are actually in the industry and like get a lot of different perspectives on it before making that call to like fully jump in.
Yeah,
Um
and I think if anyone tells you that it's really easy and you should try it, then you know, I don't think anyone would tell you that. But if anyone does tell you that, go talk to someone else.
yeah,
Get
a
some real
second opinion.
info. Yeah, yeah. Uh,
I'm just gonna drop the disco link in because we're getting close to the end. So if anyone needs to hop off early, this is the submission link. So you can go ahead and submit a song to that link. Um, but yeah, we've got a couple more minutes, so maybe we can get in one or two more questions.
yes. Do I view disco as being a must-have for artists and composers? Other people will say yes to this, period, full stop. I don't feel as strongly about that. I can take music through Box or Dropbox or even Google Drive. Whatever it is, just make sure it's streamable and I don't have to download it to listen to it. That's my piece. Disco is really nice. It makes things look aesthetically very pleasing and um, you know, playing devil's advocate, I'll pretend to be you for a second. You want to create a lasting impression, both sonically and visually. And I think disco allows you to do that in a way that other apps don't. And in that way, I think it's a very good investment for artists and songwriters because you can have your face on it, you can have your logo on it, you can customize it in any number of ways. And in that way, I think it's great. Michelle, Sami, do you prefer being independent now rather than working with another soup company? I do really enjoy being an independent music supervisor. I've always been really entrepreneurial just as an individual. But that said, the scope of my work is so highly collaborative that even though I'm independent, I work with people all the time. And if I'm working on a feature, I mean, I just wrapped a film that I was working on for 3 years. So, you're working together. You're technically independent, on paper, but you're working on a team. So I think, yeah, I like being independent, but I certainly don't work alone. Um, yeah. Thank you so
Cool.
much. You guys are so nice. All these comments are so lovely.
Yeah, great questions too.
Yeah, really great questions. I look forward to listening to your submissions. And if you don't hear from me, please don't take it personally. And I hope to see you at the next event. Keep an eye out for the next plugged in. And Jordan, thank you so much for having me. It's
Thank
always a
you.
pleasure talking to the
Yeah,
community.
yeah, this
Yeah,
just flew by. Thank you
it really
for
did.
no. Yeah, we love having you on, so thank you so much for being here and we'll definitely keep an eye out for more events that you're participating in and yeah, like
Awesome.
Sammy was saying, go make sure you all keep an eye out too and try to show up for as many things as you can because that really helps a
Yeah.
lot. Yeah.
Um, Mark, I'm not planning it being at Durango this year, but that could change on a dime. But as of now, I will not be at Durango. Hmm. Last
Cool.
question. Yeah. Thank you,
Great.
guys.
Thank you again, everyone. Yeah, make sure you save that disco link if you haven't already so you can submit. And we'll be taking submissions through the end of the week. So don't feel too rushed, but if you could get in there sooner rather than later, that would be great. And yeah, Sammy, we'll keep in touch. Thank you again so much. This was so great.
My pleasure. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your afternoon, and keep the faith about what you're doing, because what you're doing is amazing and really hard, and not everyone can do it. So pat
True.
yourself
That
on
is
the
true.
back. It's hard, and you're
Yeah.
putting your feelings out through your music. So it's a beautiful thing, and I don't take it for granted that I get to listen to it. So thank you for sharing.
Always need more of it in the world. So keep doing it. Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Bye.
you,
Good to
Sai.
see you.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.
Thanks.